Okay, good. We're all on track. If you're kind of missing out, I'll kind of tell you what to do. So, good morning. And I do want to say that Teen Church is happening with teens across the way. So, second Sunday, we're rolling, and it's going to be consistent. Yes, absolutely. So, bring your grandchildren. Oh, well, the middle ones. So, well, the little ones, we have a little church too. So, I would like to welcome everyone who is here for the very first time. Or if you haven't received one of our newcomer packets, you are most welcome. Just put your hand up, and one of our goddesses will put a little thing in your hand that tells you a lot about us. So, first timers, new people, anybody? Don't be shy. We won't ask you to do anything else. There you go. There you go. Good. So, we are here all together at the Golden Gate Center for Spiritual Living, where our vision is awakening personal transformation. And we do that through our mission by teaching tools for positive change. And it is my mission to give you tools for positive change every single Sunday. So hopefully by the end of, maybe you already have them, just by being here. Our year-long theme, the global vision, is a world that works for everyone. Now that, I say that every Sunday, but I want to kind of deepen it as we go through the year, because that literally means that we hold a vision for this planet, that everyone has enough. They have enough love, they have enough belonging, they have enough connection, they have enough food, they have a place to live. They have enough so that they can put their attention on their life path rather than just getting by. And here we are in one of the richest places in the entire world. And we do hold that for the whole world. So, our May theme is spiritual guidance and personal responsibility. So what this means is that as we co-create this world that works for everyone, we all open up for divine guidance, which is available to us at any moment. As the opening prayer stated, we have this ability to open to the mind of God, which is everywhere, and download information that is necessary for us. And then the personal responsibility is we decide to act on it. Because realization without actualization is merely entertainment. And so living out that divine guidance is our personal responsibility. So this is a theme that many centers for spiritual living worldwide are working with. And we have a quote for every Sunday. So this is the quote for this Sunday that many spiritual people around the world are focusing on. And that is, we believe that any person may become a revealer of truth who lives in close contact with the indwelling God. That basically reiterates the theme of the month, that we are open to receiving that divine guidance and then speaking it first and then acting on it. The revealing of the truth is us saying, no, I do not stand for conflict or violence or lack or limitation. I stand for this world working for everybody, and this is what I'm doing to further that. So that is revealing the truth. So the title that I'm working with today is How Can I Reveal Truth? And then, of course, you own that title, and so you say it, How I Can Reveal Truth, meaning you. Okay, are we all ready for this? We're all going to reveal truth. We're all going to reveal the highest truth. Because what happens is that we receive this spiritual guidance living in close contact with our source, and then each one of us lives the highest truth that we are capable of receiving. That truth with a capital T. And then that is our personal responsibility to live from that. So I first want to talk about and ask all of us, what is this capital T truth? And I read the definition of truth in the textbook, which is, I think, one of the more obscure of Ernest Holmes' statements. And I want to kind of unpack it for you without even reading it. Because it says to me, What is the biggest statement and position that I can hold about what is? What is the most all-inclusive and all-encompassing way that I can hold the universe? What is so about life at its essence? So I want to draw your attention now to this beautiful altar, which actually Galia did not do this altar. She's in the bulletin. But this is a Mary Lee Bickford altar. And this, the circles emphasize the wholeness of life and of God, the allness. And then that spiritual center with the Buddha kind of floating in and through all of creation. I just love this altar, so thank you, Mary Lee, very much. So, the science of mind and spirit is very focused on teaching truth, that truth with the high T. So I want to speak a little bit about that, because what we believe, what we teach, what we experience when we feel into the essence of all that is that the universe is perfect, whole, and complete. We kind of say that a lot, but perfect means it's lacking nothing. It's whole, like that circle is complete. And it holds everything, and nothing is excluded. And like the beauty of the altar, this wholeness and completeness is in harmony and balance. Nothing is at odds with itself. There's no complaint or there's no conflict at the essence of life. Everything is flowing and evolving and becoming in sort of a totally harmonious and harmless way. And this is true of both the known and the unknown. Now, we don't know a whole lot, honestly. Our sensory apparatus can only receive a minute portion of the electromagnetic spectrum that is going on. Lots more is going on than we can even bring into our awareness in this mind-body system. And what we hold is that all of that, the mysterious and the known, is harmonious and a complete whole, that everything supports everything. So if we see something that seems out of balance, if we see something that seems harmful, and I know that there are plenty of things that seem harmful in the world, we are perceiving it at a level of circumstance rather than high T truth, because at the ultimate, God is in and through every single thing, and inclusively it all works. So that's the teaching. I can get there on some days, and I can't get there on some days. Some days I look at the news. Some days I look at, you could give me 40 different things that don't seem perfect. And then I say, God is there also. And we are an evolving planet, an evolving species. And so I get back to that, knowing that ultimately, in essence, in some mysterious way that I cannot understand, but I can lean into, I can bend, as Michael said in the opening prayer, I can bend to that perfection. And as I bend to that perfection, I see that in the midst of all of this, there is my path. In the midst of the big truth is my path, that is my truth. And within each one of us, there is a path of being and doing that conforms to this perfection. So that's the teaching of truth. That's what we teach. Now, the living of truth is trickier, right? It's trickier to realize, to just say it's all God and it's all good and really believe it. And it's tricky because we have blind spots. We have a lack of skill in expressing ourselves and in living that truth. We have a lack of connection, conscious connection with our source every moment. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. And it's not because God has gone away, by the way. It's because we are not there. Also, our ego, our reactivity, and our past disappointments are standing in the way of us realizing this perfection all the time. We also have this body that we think needs protection. And so we end up feeling separate. Separate from our good, separate from our path, separate from the big T truth. And yet, when we are there in our truth, we are truly free, we are unencumbered, we are clear, we are content, we are happy, we are peaceful, and it's not that we just have this in meditation. We have it all the time. We can have it all the time. We can have it when we're busy or when we're still, when we're challenged or when we're at ease, when we're alone or when we're together, when we have a steep learning curve or a shallow learning curve. When we have any circumstances whatsoever, we can find this truth and this peace and let things just flow and feel connected no matter what is going on. We can do that. Okay? Are you with me? That's the theoretical position. Now we're going to go into specifics. So here we are in alignment with truth. This face is so great. This is when we are in harmony with all that exists, and we can feel into that and celebrate it when we're in alignment. And here's how I'm going to help you remember what that feels like. Remember a time when you were looking into the face of a beloved. And this can be a sweetheart, a parent, a child, a friend, a pet. You were looking into the face of this beloved, and everything else all around here was kind of blurry. You were looking into this face, and you were saying, I love you. Can we all go there? Can we all go there? And feel how this feels. Because when that is a moment of high truth, when we are aware of only that we are in love with what we are gazing upon. And if you remember that moment very clearly, you remember that there is joy, there is alignment, there is empowerment, there is congruency, there is freedom, there is peace, there is harmony. And we, in that moment, are revealing a high truth on our path. And when that happens, the universe settles into its right state. It's really like we contribute to the harmony of the universe. And we can say with Robert Browning, God's in his heaven and all is right with the world. That's what happens when we are in harmony and when we are in our high truth and when we are expressing our high truth in thought, word, and action. And this can happen not only when you're looking into the face of a beloved, but this can happen when we're at work. This can happen when we're with friends. This can happen with all of our choices. This can happen with every step on our path. And as we focus on being in alignment with the high truth, those moments happen more and more and more and more and more. So with the empowerment of the remembrance of what it feels like to be in the high truth, let's look at what it feels like to be out of alignment with truth. We see, we all recognize this one too, right? We're on the wrong path. We are either not doing something that reflects our truth, or we're doing something that goes against our truth. And this is what it feels like, right up there. In the textbook, it says, nature seems to await our comprehension of her, and since she is governed by immutable laws, the ignorance of which excuses no one from their effects, the bondage of humanity must be the result of our ignorance of the true nature of reality. And that ignorance of the true nature of reality is that we are out of alignment on our own path. And that is underlined by that wise little furball over there. So our path, is a soul's decision. It's not, our path is not like laid on us by God, that we look at our path and we go, who thought this up? It is a kind of a soul decision that we have with the infinite, and then we either walk on it or we don't, and we are in alignment or we are out of alignment. So I've had 2 divorces, and I'm telling you that at the beginning of the marriages, I felt I was on my path, and then it came to that place where my soul was screaming that I was out of alignment, that something was wrong. And as such, I felt like this picture. I felt trapped, I felt in bondage, I felt dishonest, I felt weak, I felt scared, confused, sad, you name it. And it was in discerning my truth. And the truth, when I first saw it, I hoped it wasn't that. You know? I hoped it wasn't that I was headed for one divorce and then another divorce. But as I said to myself, okay, I'm going to step on this path that seems more in alignment, then I felt the harmony of the universe gather once around me again. And I have another story. I don't have the story. It's my beloved housemate's story, and I'm going to ask Mary to come up now and tell another story that you can feel into pretty much disharmony and then harmony.
So can you relate to what Carol's saying about feeling afraid to, I don't know, take the next step forward? Anybody ever felt that? So when I had just begun my second ministry in Huntington Beach, I fell in love with my spouse, Amanda. That was my first experience falling in love with a woman, and not something that had been on the table when I became the minister, when I was hired there in Orange County, which, as you might know, is kind of conservative. And so I wasn't quite sure. I was sure about how I felt about her, but I wasn't quite sure about how I felt about having that known, or what that meant about me, or what was going to happen there, or how I needed to take care of those people and my relationship and my son, who was about to move in with me at the same time that she was. And so what I did in the course of that year, it was a year that she was down here and I was in Southern California, and a year that she and my son both moved in with me, that were very increasingly tense years for me, because I was withholding that information about me. I wasn't overtly lying, but I was definitely withholding something. And what happened was, I began to feel contracted. I began to feel out of alignment with the truth of who I was. I began to feel isolated and impatient and defensive and brittle. And my boundaries kind of disappeared, and I was trying to work extra hard to make up for this something that I was withholding from people. Can anybody relate to this? It was physically exhausting. And I had a lot of health crises that came up over that period of time. And what I know about it now is that when we're out of alignment with our truth, with standing in our truth, and we're afraid, we become less and less available to live on the path that's ours and to give our full self. We can't do it because we're busy holding back something. And it isn't just in this kind of circumstance that it happens. It can be any kind of circumstance where we feel afraid and so we're withholding something. Does this make sense? It took me a while after I came sort of back into alignment to actually own that alignment. You know, after I said, this is what's true for me, I still had to go through a process of actually getting comfortable with that truth myself and living from it. And that was quite a process. But coming back to myself, I can't tell you how much of a relief it was to not be hanging on to that energy drain of withholding. So that's what it meant to me to come back into alignment, to be then freed energetically to live from my center and give my gift again without holding anything back from people. So that's what it meant for me to come back into alignment.
So that was a perfect example of ye shall know the truth and the truth shall set you free. All right? So now we're going to talk about all of us flowing into our alignment, okay? So first of all, ready for this? Okay, and this means self-knowledge and then action. So you don't get to like just realize it and not actualize it, or you'll just be entertained. And I know we're entertaining, but it's about you guys. First of all, access your truth. This is where it is essential to be in close contact with the indwelling spirit. And this can be huge work. I mean, Mary's story, my story, everybody has a story about realizing you're on the wrong path and then stepping onto the right path or trying to discern what the right path is. It's a huge work because there are logical reasons for you to stay in bondage, and we give them to ourselves. It's huge work because fear keeps us immobile. And it's huge work because what is familiar is us being out of integrity. And sometimes it's people go years and years and years and years and years. It becomes so familiar that that's reality for them. But it's not truth. So what is important is to access your truth through the indwelling spirit. In the book it says, intuitively we sense that everyone in their native state is some part or manifestation of this eternal principle, and that eternal principle is truth. And that the entire problem of limitation, evil, suffering, and uncertainty is not God ordained, but is the result of ignorance. And that ignorance is, will I be divinely supported if I step into my truth? And we always are. We always are. So I want us to, as we're accessing our truth, to also know that there is a question that we have to keep asking ourselves, and that is there a deeper truth? Is there a deeper truth? Because I'm telling you, I have had people announce to me that they want to get back into integrity by telling me a truth. And what it felt like was dumping or getting even or deflecting their own responsibility. Can anybody had that or done that? You know, I've done it. Then I have also had the experience recently of people telling me a truth that was painful for me to hear, but they said it with such love that I was able to move easily. And so it is combining the truth-telling with the other divine qualities of spirit. So when we do that, and when we even do it a little bit, when we move a little bit into this integrity, everything starts to shift, and we are divinely supported. So the idea is to move into truth privately and publicly. So I have a great example of this. Remember I told you a couple of weeks ago that our whole denomination was looking at whether or not to have our conference in Tennessee? And we were waiting for whether that ruling would come down that because it's called, ironically, it's called religious freedom. And it's that if a therapist is not comfortable with the spiritual position of someone that they are counseling, that they can refuse to counsel with them. And so that was upheld. So this is our denomination as reported in the Wall Street Journal. Colorado-based Centers for Spiritual Living, which says it consists of 400 spiritual communities, teaching chapters, study groups, and other ministries in 30 countries, canceled plans to hold its annual convention in Nashville. In February of 2017, an event that organizers said would have drawn about 500 people. This is a quote. It was more a moral point of, do we want to bring our business to a state that is, in our view, legalizing discrimination, said David Alexander, who chairs the Leadership Council of the Centers. Equality and justice for all of God's people is something we're very, very much committed to. So that is the denomination that you are a part of, and I am very, very, very proud of us. This is about standing in our truth. Standing in our truth privately and publicly. And then finally, we get to settle into the supportive universe that you are in harmony with when you are in harmony with yourself. This is the sentence that continues the quote that I was just reading in the textbook. It has been written that the truth shall make us free, provided we know the truth, and we note that the evolution of man's consciousness brings with it the acquisition of new powers and higher possibilities. So these new powers and higher possibilities are only available when we stand in our integrity. And so stepping into integrity from that place of disharmony brings us this, and that is, this is only the beginning. This is only the beginning. This is a quote from Henry David Thoreau. If one advances confidently in the direction of their dream, endeavoring to live the life they are imagining, and remember that means with integrity, all sorts of things begin to occur that never otherwise would have occurred. One begins to meet with a success unexpected in common hours. And what that means is, when we step into integrity with ourselves and with the universe, then things start to happen that are like when we never could have imagined. That it's better than we picture. We're just stepping into our reality, and all of a sudden the universe kind of shifts around us, and things come to us that are like, wow, that is amazing. Wow, that is amazing. So I was looking for an example for us because, you know, in this community, although we have our challenges and we have our struggles to stay on track and live in the truth, and I'm telling you, our core councils led by our president, Gail Durkin, are they're strong. They're not like wishy-washy, weird, what are we going to do next? And I mean, we are living in integrity in the core council, and we start everything that we do with visioning, and to the best of our ability, we tell the truth. And so we are living in integrity. And so what has happened is that there were 3 ministers that sort of plopped in for us. Reverend Mary Murray Shelton, Reverend Catherine Sachs, and soon-to-be Reverend Scott Murchison kind of came to us. We did not, put out a call for them. They came to us. They're adding to our community. And then Suzanne Dubois, who really kind of plopped in on us, she was like here one Sunday and said, I would love to do the teens. She's over there now with the teens. About the time we decided we need teens. And so we have a teen leader along with Scott. So this is what happens naturally, that we kind of stop working at this struggle set of rules and we hop up to a set of rules that says, here, honeys, you need some of this. Oh, you didn't know you needed some of this? Well, here, you need some of this too. And it's like perfect. So I'm going to conclude with a little lightweight story. I mean, it really is. From Robert Fulghum. You might have heard this story before, but it's about living our truth. And it's about living our truth. Giants, wizards, and dwarves was the game to play. Being left in charge of about 80 children 7 to 10 years old while their parents were off doing parenty things, I mustered my troops in the church social hall and explained the game. It's a large-scale version of rock, paper, scissors and involves some decision-making, but the real purpose of the game is to make a lot of noise and run around chasing people until nobody knows which side you're on or who won. Organizing a room full of wired-up grade schoolers into 2 teams, and we were ready to go. The excitement of the chase had reached a critical mass, and I yelled, "You have to decide now. Are you a giant, a wizard, or a dwarf?" While the groups huddled in frenzied, whispered consultation, a tug came at my pants leg. A small child stands there looking up and asks in a small, concerned voice, "Where do the mermaids stand?" Where do the mermaids stand? A long pause, a very long pause. Where do the mermaids stand, says I. Yes, you see, I'm a mermaid. Oh, there are no such things as mermaids. Oh, yes, I am one. She did not relate to being a giant, a wizard, or a dwarf. She knew her category, mermaid. And she was not about to leave the game and go over and stand against the wall where a loser would stand. She intended to participate wherever mermaids fit into the scheme of things, without giving up dignity or identity. She took it for granted that there was a place for mermaids and that I would know just where. Well, where do the mermaids stand? All the mermaids, all those who are different, who do not fit the norm, and who do not accept the available boxes and pigeonholes. Answer that question, and you can build a school, a nation, or a world on it. What was my answer at the moment? Every once in a while, I say the right thing. The mermaid stands right here next to the king of the sea, says I. So we all stood there hand in hand, reviewing the troops of wizards and giants and dwarves as they rolled by in a wild disarray. It is not true, by the way, that mermaids do not exist. I know one at least personally, and I have held her hand. Thank you. So, our spiritual principles, getting back to the truth that never changes, and that is the truth shall set you free. And the next one, harmony and balance are always available. And here's what you do, your spiritual practice, your assignment. Tell yourself and others the truth. How many are going to go out and do that today? All right. With love and the deepest truth you can possibly muster. With love. So now, join with me in the inner work. And going to that place of the door between the worlds, where the divine support, the divine guidance, and that truth that is always available to us resonates right within our being, that place where when we say, "What is my truth?" we cannot avoid it. It is right there in our face, coming up from our heart, coming through the doorway of the infinite, right from the heart of God, right in front of us, inviting us to take a step on the path of truth. And so I accept for each one of us here today that first small step into a consciousness, an awareness, a life, and an essence that is more closely aligned with the balance and integrity of the universe, with the high truth of wholeness, completeness, and perfection, the high truth of balance and harmony, knowing that we have the entire universe to support us and that we reflect the nature of the whole when we step into integrity with our own life path. And so it is. Amen.